Two doctors, same medical school, same graduation year. At age 26, one earns $62,304 a year working 80 hours a week making life or death decisions overnight. That is the salary.com national average for a first-year medical resident in 2026. The other, a college friend who chose finance, is already earning $120,000 sitting at a desk. Decades later, that same doctor has climbed every rank in the American hospital hierarchy. They are now a medical director earning $369,343 a year, or a chief medical officer at $476,754. The journey between those two numbers is 12 to 16 years, over $200,000 in debt, 80-hour weeks, missed birthdays, broken relationships, burnout, and the quiet question that visits every resident at 3 a.m. Is this actually worth it? This video answers that question, rank by rank, salary by salary, sacrifice by sacrifice, all 9 levels of the American medical hierarchy. Every figure sourced from salary.com's 2026 data. Nothing estimated, nothing left out. There are 9 distinct ranks in the American medical hierarchy. Each one demands something different. Your time, your money, your relationships, your identity. Medical student, intern, junior resident, senior resident, chief resident, fellow, attending physician, department head, and at the very top, medical director. We are going through every single one. At each rank, the salary.com verified salary, the hours, and the sacrifice nobody puts in the brochure. Rank 1, medical student. Salary, 0. Not low. 0, you do not earn in medical school. You spend. According to AAMC 2026 data, the average 4-year cost of attendance at a public medical school is $297,745. At a private school, $408,150. The average graduating medical student carries over $200,000 in debt, and that number has risen consistently every year for the past decade. To put that in perspective, the average college graduate carries approximately $29,000 in student debt. A medical student carries more than 7 times that, without having earned a single dollar. Medical school demands 60 to 80 hours per week. Lectures, labs, clinical rotations, and relentless preparation for the USMLE board exams. These exams determine which specialty and which hospital you can apply to for residency. Your entire career path narrows or widens based on a score. The sacrifice goes beyond money. A friend who chose engineering at 22 has 4 years of salary, savings, and compound investment growth by the time a medical student graduates. A friend who chose law is already a practicing attorney. The future doctor is still a student, $200,000 in debt, with the hardest years completely ahead. Rank 2. Intern, also called PGY1, postgraduate year 1. You have graduated medical school. You have your MD. You are technically a doctor. And your salary, according to salary.com's June 2026 data, averages $62,304 per year for a first-year medical resident. The range runs from $47,489 at the lower end to $75,776 at the top end, depending on your program and location. This sounds like progress, until you calculate the hourly rate. The ACGME officially caps residents at 80 hours per week. At $62,304 working 80 hours a week, your effective hourly wage is $14.98 per hour. Let's call it $15. A first-year electrical apprentice listed on salary.com earns $44,895 a year working standard hours, a significantly better hourly rate. A UPS driver earns around $21 per hour. The intern earning $15 an hour is simultaneously responsible for managing critically ill patients, writing medication orders that could kill someone if wrong, and making clinical decisions under the supervision of an attending who may be home asleep. The first-year resident's take-home pay after taxes and loan payments is approximately $3,200 to $3,500 per month. In New York City, the salary.com figure for a resident physician is $73,188. But the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is over $3,300. The math is devastating in every major city where the top programs are located. The sacrifice at this stage is sleep, relationships, and self. Intern year is the period of peak burnout onset in all of medical training. The novelty of finally being a doctor collides with 30-hour call shifts, impossible patient loads, and the awareness that a mistake here carries consequences that a mistake in almost any other career simply does not. Rank 3. Junior resident PGY 2 and PGY 3. According to Salary.com's March 2026, data for internal medicine residents, the most common residency type. The average salary is $66,962 per year. This is a modest step up from the intern year figure of $62,304. The raises are incremental and automatic, typically $2,000 to $4,000 per year as you progress through training. The highest paying states for this rank, according to Salary.com, are the District of Columbia at $74,140, California at $73,859, and Massachusetts at $72,875. The lowest paying states pull the national average down significantly, which is why where you train affects your paycheck more than how well you perform. The work gets harder without a meaningful pay increase. Junior residents take on more complex patients, more independent decision-making and supervision of the interns below them. They are simultaneously learning and teaching at the same hours. Here is where specialties begin to diverge dramatically. A family medicine resident finishes at PGY 3 and enters the workforce as an attending. A neurosurgery resident at PGY 3 has 4 more years of residency still ahead. Researchers call what accumulates during these years cumulative sleep debt, the compounding neurological effect of years of disrupted sleep. After 2 to 3 years of 60 to 80-hour weeks with frequent overnight calls, cognitive function is measurably impaired in ways that do not fully reverse during time off. Junior residents are making clinical decisions in a state of chronic neurological compromise. The divorce rate among physicians climbs significantly during years 2 through 4 of residency. The partner who waited through medical school is now waiting through year 3 and 4 of training, with no clear end date for most surgical specialties. Rank 4. Senior resident, PGY 4 and PGY 5 and beyond. Salary.com lists a third-year resident at $75,426 per year, as of June 2026. As a reference point for senior training levels, residents at this stage typically earn between $72,000 and $85,000 depending on specialty, program, and year of training, with surgical subspecialties generally at the higher end. Senior residents carry real authority. They supervise junior residents and interns. They run codes independently. In many programs, they are the most senior doctor physically present in the hospital overnight, making critical decisions while their attending sleeps at home. They are trusted with the most consequential calls of a hospital shift at this pay level. A piece of history worth knowing: the ACGME 80-hour weekly limit has only existed since 2003. Before that, there was no limit. Residents routinely worked 100 to 120 hours per week. The cap was introduced after the Libby Zion case, an 18-year-old who died in 1984 after a sleep-deprived resident made a fatal medication error. Whether 80 hours is truly humane remains fiercely debated today. The financial sacrifice at this stage is rarely discussed honestly. A peer who chose consulting at 22 has been contributing to a 401k for 8 years, building home equity and compounding investments. The senior resident at 30 has over $200,000 in debt, no meaningful savings, and has not begun wealth building at all. A dollar invested at 22 is not the same dollar at 34. That difference compounds across an entire lifetime. Rank 5. Chief resident. The chief resident is typically the most senior resident selected to lead their cohort. Coordinating schedules, mentoring junior residents, liaising with attendings and program directors, handling conflicts, and representing the residency class to hospital leadership. Salary.com does not have a specific chief resident listing because chief residents are paid at their current PGY rate plus a supplement determined by their institution. AMC data shows that supplement averages $5,071 per year, approximately $97 extra per week for running the program. 71.1% of residency programs pay this supplement. 28.9% pay nothing extra at all. So using the salary.com third-year resident figure of $75,426 as a baseline, a chief resident at a program that pays the average supplement earns approximately $80,497 per year. The chief resident is doing two full jobs simultaneously: a complete clinical load and a complete administrative and leadership role, with almost no additional compensation and no reduction in hours. Most describe it as the most meaningful and simultaneously the most exhausting year of their training. The real value is not in the $97 per week. Being a strong chief resident sends one of the most powerful signals to fellowship programs and future employers. It is an investment in the next rank. Rank 6. Fellow. After residency, already 3 to 7 years depending on specialty, many physicians choose fellowship for advanced subspecialty training in cardiology, gastroenterology, interventional radiology, and surgical subspecialties. This adds 1 to 3 more years before independent practice. Salary.com does not list a specific fellowship salary category. Fellows are compensated at the P, GY4 through P, GY7 level, depending on their prior years of training. Using Salary.com's third-year resident figure of $75,426 as a reference point, most fellows earn in the $70,000 to $85,000 range. A cardiologist entering fellowship has already completed 3 years of internal medicine residency. They are 31 or 32 years old. They earn approximately $75,000 a year. According to Salary.com, a vice president of finance at this career stage earns $200,000 to $350,000, with a decade of 401k contributions, home equity, and compounding wealth. The fellow has none of those things, and they have 2 more years before their first attending paycheck. Fellowship-trained physicians earn significantly more as attendings than non-fellowship-trained physicians in the same specialty. The lifetime math works out, but the sacrifice in the moment is real. Choosing fellowship means choosing to delay financial stability, family planning, and wealth building for several more years, at an age when most professionals are already firmly established. The number that puts it all in context: a neurosurgery resident who starts medical school at 22, graduates at 26, completes a 7-year residency, and a 1-year fellowship, does not see their first attending paycheck until age 34. 12 years after medical school began. Rank 7. Attending physician, this is the moment. After 11 to 16 years of training, the salary finally arrives. According to Salary.com, as of May 2026, the average attending physician salary in the United States is $257,698 per year. The range runs from $228,370 at the 25th percentile to $309,097 at the 90th percentile. Top earners reach $309,097 according to Salary.com's data. For specialty context, Salary.com lists physician internal medicine at $261,955 as of June 2026. These are the Salary.com national averages. It is important to note that specialty-specific figures from Medscape and other physician compensation surveys tend to report higher numbers for surgical specialties because they include private practice and performance bonuses. Salary.com's figures reflect base compensation across all practice settings. What is not in dispute: the salary at this rank is dramatically higher than any previous rank, and the hours drop significantly. Most attendings report working approximately 49 hours per week compared to the 80-hour caps of residency. The work-life balance sacrificed for a decade begins to return. But here is the reality no brochure mentions. By the time residency ends, the average physician carries over $200,000 in debt with accumulated interest. The attending at 32 to 34 is now earning $257,000, but simultaneously paying down $200,000 in debt, buying a home for the first time, funding a retirement account a decade behind peers, and often starting a family simultaneously. A quarter of all physicians say their compensation does not cover their family's needs. 40% take on outside work to supplement income. This is not greed. This is the financial reality of a decade of delayed wealth building colliding with real life all at once. The whole is finite. With aggressive debt management, most attending physicians reach genuine financial stability within 5 to 7 years. After that, medicine's long-term financial outcome is exceptional. Rank 8. Department Head. A department head, head of cardiology, surgery, emergency medicine, is a senior attending physician with typically 10 to 20 years of clinical experience who takes on the administrative leadership of their specialty department. They continue seeing patients, but a growing portion of their week shifts to scheduling, budgeting, hiring, quality oversight, performance reviews, and strategy meetings. The closest Salary.com category for this role is Hospital Director, which Salary.com lists at an average of $416,381 per year as of June 2026. This reflects the administrative leadership premium on top of a senior physician's base salary. The range runs from $311,000 at the lower end to over $500,000 for department heads at major academic medical centers and large hospital systems. The sacrifice at this rank is a trade many physicians do not fully anticipate. The department head gives up a portion of the hands-on clinical work that drove them to medicine in the first place, in exchange for administrative authority and a higher salary. For some, this feels natural. For many, there is a quiet loss in it. They are now responsible not just for their own patients, but for the decisions, performance, errors, and well-being of every physician in their department. That accountability does not appear on any job posting. Rank 9. Medical Director, the highest clinical rank in the American hospital hierarchy. The medical director oversees clinical operations across the entire institution. They coordinate and direct medical and health services for the whole facility. They advise hospital administration on clinical matters. They set policy. They manage compliance. And they are ultimately accountable for the quality of care delivered by every physician in the building. According to Salary.com as of May 2026, the average medical director salary in the United States is $369,343 per year, an hourly equivalent of $178. The range runs from $249,868 at the 25th percentile to $456,848 at the 75th percentile. The next step above medical director, chief medical officer, averages $476,754 per year according to Salary.com's June 2026 data, with a minimum of $407,676. In high-cost states like California, the CMO average reaches $500,000 to $25,860. In the District of Columbia, $527,862. The hours at this level become more predictable and structured than any previous rank. Evenings and weekends are occasional rather than routine. And here is the final sacrifice. The most paradoxical of all. The physician who spent 12 to 16 years training to be a doctor, who chose medicine because of the clinical work, the patient interaction, the intellectual challenge of diagnosis, now spends the majority of their professional life in meetings, reviewing policies, managing budgets, and writing reports. Many physicians who reach this level describe a quiet grief. They are at the top of the hierarchy. They earn more than they ever have. They hold the most authority of their career, and they spend the least time doing the thing that made them choose this path. It is the final tax the medical career levies on its most dedicated climbers. And it is one that almost no one on the outside ever sees. Before the recap, here is the calculation nobody shows you before you start. Start pre-med at 18. 4 years of undergraduate education, 4 years of medical school, accumulating over $200,000 in debt. Residency, 3 to 7 years. Potentially, fellowship, 1 to 3 more years. You are somewhere between 29 and 34 before your first attending paycheck. Your peer who chose business at 22 has been earning for 7 to 12 years. At an average salary of $80,000, That is $560,000 to $960,000 in earnings accumulated before you earn your first dollar as an attending, plus 12 years of compound investment growth sitting in their retirement account. But here is the other side of the ledger, and it matters. The attending physician eventually earns significantly more than almost any alternative career path. A primary care attending earning $257,000, Salary.com's 2026 figure, has a lifetime earnings advantage of approximately $4.5 to $5 million over the average college graduate. Specialists and senior physicians who reach department head and medical director level earn even more. The break-even point where the doctor's lifetime earnings overtake any alternative career despite the delayed start is typically around age 40 to 45. After that, the physician's financial position is almost always significantly superior to any comparable path. The question medicine asks of everyone who enters it is never whether it pays. It does, eventually and substantially. The question is whether the 12 to 16 years of sacrifice to get there is a price you are willing to pay, and whether you would choose it again knowing everything it would cost, not just financially, but in sleep, in relationships, in the years given to training instead of living. 95% of medical residents say they are not paid enough during training, and 89% of physicians say they would choose medicine again. Those two facts, sitting side by side, tell you everything about why people become doctors. All 9 ranks, 90 seconds, all figures from Salary.com 2026. Medical student, 0 salary, over $200,000 in debt, 60 to 80 hours a week. Intern, average $62,304 per year, 80 hours a week, $14.98 an hour, less than many tradespeople. Junior resident, average $66,962 per year. Same brutal hours, more responsibility, relationships under strain. Senior resident, approximately $75,426 per year reference. Most senior doctor in the building overnight. Peers buying their first homes. Chief resident, PGY rate plus $5,071 average supplement, running the entire program for $97 extra per week. Fellow, approximately $75,000 per year, 1 to 3 more years, age 31 to 34, finance peers earning over $200,000. Attending, average $257,698 per year, range $228,370 to $309,097. The payoff arrives, but $200,000 in debt and a decade of catching up still ahead. Department head, hospital director average $416,381 per year, leading the specialty, trading clinical time for administrative authority. Medical director, average $369,343 per year, the top of the clinical hierarchy, the furthest from the bedside. And the next step, chief medical officer, averages $476,754. Total time from medical school to first attending paycheck, 11 to 16 years. Total debt, over $200,000. Lifetime earnings advantage, $4.5 to $5 million over a college graduate. Worth it? 89% of doctors say yes. Underpaid during training? 95% say yes. Both are true. That is medicine. If you are a pre-med student, a medical student, or someone supporting a doctor through training, share this video. Every salary figure in it comes directly from Salary.com's 2026 data. The sacrifice is real. Understanding both before you start, or while you are in it, changes how you navigate every step.